Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and everything in between. Welcome back to Old Man Rambles. Uh, Elden Ring's got a new DLC out. Uh, I have been playing it. Well, I started a new character. I haven't actually gotten to the DLC yet. Um, but that's, I guess, neither here nor there. A lot of people are playing it, and as before, the big game developers, all hate FromSoft. They're all they continue to trash talk From Software, Larian Studios, any small company. Well, FromSoft isn't necessarily a small company anymore, and after the success of Baldur's Gate 3, neither is Larian Studios. But these companies who prioritize gameplay over profit, and all these big names, are trying to say that you can't expect this of game companies, and they're still trash talking the good games out there that they're not making. And then I've been watching people play the game, when I'm frustrated, when I've died a lot. So there's that. And I've been listening to reviews and stuff. And someone made a comment that got me thinking. I am an old nerd. And I remember when video games were first new, a lot of the companies that are big names now, I remember when they were nobodies, when they were the small little developers. And I was thinking about what kind of got me is remember when Electronic Arts was the big name on the block. Not that they were in a big company, but when you knew that every single game they put out was going to be top tier. All these gaming companies that are huge now and who are trash talking other successful game companies, they used to be run by people who loved games. People like me, well, people more talented than I am. I'm not a programmer. I'm not a writer. I'm not a programmer. You can tell I'm not a writer. I don't write scripts for those things. I'm not especially talented, but I love games. If I had the skill to do it, I would have loved to have been a gaming programmer. If I had the patience to learn how to do coding and all that sort of stuff, I would have loved to work with some of these companies back in the day. Back when games like Road Rash were coming out. Anyone remember Road Rash? I loved that game. That's a game even my wife loved playing. Just a goofy motorcycle racing game that the whole family loved. But I think that was put up by Electronic Arts. Need for Speed. Before that there was just a yearly franchise dump. Electronic Arts putting out Madden 2025 or NBA, NFL, whatever. Just the constant churning out of sequels with no original thought. But all those old games that are companies that are now huge, that dominate the market, these people used to put out quality games. Every game they put out was awesome. In the good old days, Yeah, that makes me sound old. The good old days of the 1990s. Back when home gaming first started to become a thing. Initially it was just Atari for the home consoles, and those games were crap. But they made a ton of money. And then as the computers got better, graphics got better, you got the Nintendo game system and Sega Genesis, and then the PlayStation, the Xbox. Small companies like Squaresoft and Enix making Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy, and now they're making Final Fantasy 16. I don't know how many episodes of or releases of Dragon Quest they've come out with. Those games are still solid. I don't think they're as good as they used to be. They don't suck, but to me they somehow lack, something. I don't know. I still like them. I'm just not a huge I will buy anything Square Enix makes fan anymore. Just like a Blizzard Entertainment. They made a ripoff of Warhammer that, in their first Warcraft game. huge smash hit. And now, like the other companies, they're run by people who don't love games. I'm sure the programmers do, the writers do, but the people who are ultimately in charge of what projects get made and how they get made, they don't love gaming. They don't love games. They love profit. I think companies like, games like Elden Ring and Baldur's Gate 3, that they get made because they're still owned by, the people who hand them off the franchise. FromSoft is the games are produced and distributed by someone else, but they know that they've got a hit on their hands. They're willing to leave FromSoft alone to do whatever they want to do. And the same thing with people who handed off Baldur's Gate 3 to Larian Studios. They knew that Larian Studios made a good game. They trusted them enough to leave them alone. And, that's what Blizzard used to be. They were acquired by other companies throughout the years, but if, they were too small to produce, so they could, create the games but not distribute them. They didn't have the contacts to sell them in stores and stuff. So they were kind of bought out by, I don't remember who bought them out before Activision. But whoever bought them out whoever bought Blizzard before Activision left them alone to make games. They didn't, hound them for release dates and demand they put certain things in the games. In those days, the games were made by, the companies were run by people who loved the game. And now they're not. They're run by people who want microtransactions, who want to squeeze every last dime out of their players as they possibly can. It's not about fun. It's about demanding our attention and our money. And for all these companies out there who are doing that, I remember a time when they didn't. I remember being such a huge Electronic Arts fanboy, and all the game companies of the same day, Square, the game names, the companies I've mentioned, Electronic Arts, Blizzard, Square Enix, and I know there's 2 or 3 other companies there that I've forgotten who have made games that I loved, but who, for one reason or other, either went out of business because they were not allowed to, be left alone. They were not allowed to be left alone to do the game they wanted to make, or the people took the franchise away from them, and they did with Twisted Metal. Sony took it away from the company who made it and gave it to someone. Took the IPO and gave it to someone else. All these great companies have either gone under or been co-opted by greed. And it does suck. And, maybe I mentioned some of this stuff in my, previous video games suck video. I don't remember. And I'm not going to go back and watch it. So maybe I'm retreading old territory here from 6 or 8 months ago. I don't remember. But as it's happening again, and as I had a thought, which I believe might have been a new thought, I figured I'd come and ramble about it. Which I guess I've done. Good hunting.